Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Belegian.
You could join us on a Wednesday night wherever you may be. My name is Sean Belegian, along with Mike Iveso. We will introduce our special guests one by one momentarily, but we are continuing our conversation about a product that is near and dear to both of our hearts, and that, of course, being Michigan high school hockey. Can't thank our friends at the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association enough for making this possible. We are going to do this all summer and into the fall, leading up to the brand new season that is 2024-25. Mike, it'll be here before you know it. But in the meantime, hey, I'll tell you what, it's not just me that loves this. You love it. This is fantastic to be able to catch up to, not only the coaches, but some of the guys that we've enjoyed watching over the past few years.
Absolutely. And hear what's going on currently with the programs, what direction they're going, and get a little bit of advice from these guys that have already taken that high school hockey pathway and moved on, like some of our guys tonight.
All right, let's get right to it because we don't want to keep these guys waiting. Kindly joining us. This is going to be a Trenton show tonight. I mean, listen, I don't need to tell you, but I'll tell you anyway. One of the most historic hockey communities there is. There's no doubt about that. Just so much success over the years, and that goes for a lot of their individual players as well. Kindly joining us, Nick Trela, former Trojan, Donte DiPonio, Nicklas Millhorn, Quinn, Preston. Can't thank the guys enough for giving us their time here in the summertime. And Nick, we're going to start with you. Listen, Trenton has a reputation for very good reason, whether it be winning, whether it be you guys just always finding a way to get it right at playoff time. What did it mean for you to be a Trenton Trojan?
Well, first off, thanks for having us on. It's going to be a fun night to talk about Trenton hockey. I graduated with the class of 2017. I played 2014 to 2015, 2015 and 2016 seasons. I think we came short in the regional finals my first year, and then the state quarters the second year. But Trenton hockey is a huge but very small community. It's just like the hockey world, right? Everyone knows everyone. You grow up playing with each other. There's only 6.4 square miles to this town. You just grow up playing with each other. In the summers, you're playing street hockey with each other or baseball. If you're a multi-sport athlete, like I mentioned, you're playing with the same guys. And that's kind of where it starts and where the culture stems from is you've been lifelong friends with these guys since you're 5 years old. And then you get to high school and you join 1 to 2 more classes like that. And you already have a culture in place that breeds off of character, blue collar work, just like what the town embodies. And in my time at Trenton, it was more of a transitional period. We battled for what we earned both years I was there. I was fortunate enough to play with Quinn, who's on the pod tonight. And he was one of the captains my first year, and talk about the leaders that come out of Trenton. It's second to none. And then I think that's why Trenton finds success year over year, stemming way back into the 70s till present day, like they this year when they made it all the way to the state finals. And in my time there, it was the best 2 years of my life. Unfortunately, but fortunately enough, I had to make a personal decision to find a locker room where I wasn't going to be the best and had to push myself every day. So senior year, I went to play for Bell Tire 18U, and that kind of propelled me into my hockey career. I ended up at 4 years at St. Lawrence with a terrific 4 years there.
All right, now let's jump over here to Quinn, our Buckeye, our resident Buckeye here. And I'm always interested, all you guys can jump in on this one. And this is really why we have this show on right now is when it comes down to it and you had to choose, be it AAA or another team or Trenton High School Hockey, you chose to play for Trenton High School Hockey. Could you go through that process with us a little bit and let us know why you chose this program?
Yeah, so growing up, I never played AAA or anything, like not at all. So I never really had like much of a reach out to play AAA. I played like Trenton Youth growing up with a bunch of my buddies. I lived in I went to a different school. I went to Riverview, which is right next door. But so I went through Riverview, played at Trenton like for youth hockey, but my family moved from Brownstown to Trenton in 7th grade, I think it was. So in 7th grade, I was already living in Trenton, but still going to Riverview, and then going into freshman year. Hockey was the sport I took the most serious. I played other sports, and I decided that if I really did like love it as much as I did, I should probably go to the strongest school possible, at least in the area. And I already lived there, and I already played with a bunch of the guys, so I knew how serious they took it. And after our games or practice, we'd run over there and watch some of the hockey games. So it was just a great time. And for me, it was just, I don't know, I was just playing in front of my friends. I loved it. Like, I loved going to school the next day and everyone giving me a pat on the back or hanging out at Taco Bell or the teachers. So it was just great. And obviously, like everyone, like Nick said, tight-knit community. So, like, people really love it, and you get the support that you really, like, enjoy to see at a young age.
Mike asked the good question, so I'm just going to go right to Donte. What am I even here for? But Donte, follow up on Mike's questions since I can't ask a question worth a darn. What are your thoughts in regards to that?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It's something like when you're growing up in the community, like that's what you look up to. That's your NHL, per se, when you're a little kid. And I got to see my cousin raise a state championship in 2004, and that's kind of who I looked up to when I was a little guy. And you keep going to the rink, you see banners after banners get raised. I think Quinn's the only one on the call to end up finishing the job, but it's something that you all want to do and you all embody as a little kid. You want to, wear the blue and gold, and that's something you kind of bleed throughout your whole life until you finally get to the big stage.
Haven't had a chance to talk to Nicklas Millhorn yet, but certainly, Nicklas, welcome. We appreciate you being here. And I guess we'll follow up the same line of question. What did it mean to you to be a Trenton Trojan?
Yeah, it meant so much. Like, I went to Riverview growing up, but I played for Trenton Hockey Association. And then my 8th grade year, I was able to play for a great Trenton alum and Andrew Sawyer. And he took us to a Trenton hockey game, watched against Brother Ice, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. And, like, for me, like, Trenton high school hockey, like, helped me because, like, playing against, like, older players, it forced me to, like, want to get stronger, want to get better. And it helped me out a lot. And I saw great results from high school hockey. And it ultimately led me to be able to play college hockey. So I'm so thankful for my time at Trenton. A great community, ice rinks right across the street from the school. So it can't get a better setup than that. So it's perfect.
Kindly joining us is some of Trenton's finest as we continue our conversation about what makes Michigan high school hockey so special in this state. Can't thank our friends at the Coaches Association enough for doing this. And today it's the Trenton edition. There is a proven path coming out of this state. Year after year after year, we see it. We're going to talk specifically about each one of these individuals' paths in a moment. But, Nick, if I may come back to you for a moment, it's fascinating to hear you guys talk because it doesn't matter the year. It could have been talking to somebody like Quinn 10 years ago. It could be talking to somebody 2 weeks ago that played for Trenton. You guys know who came before you. I mean, that's the uniqueness of this, whether it be the Sawyer brothers or Donte mentioned his cousin. There's a pride for putting on that blue and gold.
Absolutely. I mean, some can name rosters all the way to the 90s a lot better than the others. But you dream about being those players. You dream about playing in front of your community, in front of your parents, just going up 2 blocks to a packed house at the Kennedy Rec Center. And it's right up the street, like we said. You bleed blue and gold. You idolize these players. It's our drive. It's our motivation to become them. Just for your first game, Thanksgiving or the Wednesday before Thanksgiving against Cranbrook. I know the tradition has changed now, but when we went through Trenton High School, that was that. You wanted the pack house. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about the first time against Cranbrook. And then you play against the other teams like Brother Rice, CC. You learn to hate those teams in MIHL at a very young age. And it just makes you want to be able to compete, make the team, and represent your city proudly.
All right, I want to start this one with Nicklas. Now, Sean, we've been talking about Trenton, and that started this pathway for these guys, and all these guys had different pathways that took them to ending up in college hockey. We've got the USPHL, we got the GOJ, we got the OJ, NCDC, the NAL, and the USHL here. There is a class of seniors that just left Trenton in high school hockey, and they're moving on to junior hockey right now. What is your advice to them? Let's start with Nicklas. What's the biggest adjustment that you think they're going to see from high school hockey to juniors?
Yeah, I think it's just like the speed and just making plays at like such a faster level. I know for me, I played in Toledo and I loved it, but it was like a big step up for me. And I actually took a year off of hockey, so it was an even bigger adjustment for me. I had to get back into the game, but yeah, I would just tell them just work hard in the off season and come prepared and just soak everything in and just like work hard, and it'll be great.
Quinn, how about you?
For me, I'd say just take it all in. Don't look too far ahead. Like for me, I didn't even know what junior hockey was until after my last game of high school, and one of the Stevenson coaches talked to me and said, "This team might draft you." And I was like, "What are you even talking about?" So for my thing is just take it all in. It's an experience. Everyone has a different journey. So you get cut from one place doesn't mean it was the right place for you either way. So I think it's just kind of keep your head on straight and really just focus on what's to come, but don't look too far ahead.
Donte?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what these guys said already, but I mean, it's kind of I kept hearing it throughout the whole journey, but they always say trust the process, and if you're working hard, good things will come over time, and that's something that I've learned over time, and all three of these guys joining on the podcast can definitely say. But just like Quinn said, like don't look too far ahead, just take it day by day, and if you're winning the days, it'll add up over time.
Some of Trenton's finest joining us tonight. We're going to go one by one with each one of these guys, and we can't thank Coach Kneiding and Coach Clements enough for hooking us up and giving us the opportunity to talk to these guys as we continue to tell people about the proven path that is Michigan high school hockey. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the four gentlemen joining us right now. Quinn, tell us about what happened when you were done. I know one of the guys mentioned it, the legendary Mike Turner wins a championship, goes out the right way in 2014. No doubt about that. Tell us about your path after you left Trenton.
Yeah, so like a lot of people know, I had a broken wrist my senior year, so I played, and then I didn't really have any idea of what I was going to do after high school. I had a spot saved at Western. I got in there, so I was just maybe going to go there to school in the fall, and then I ended up getting drafted in the NA, but I was still going through like all my wrist surgeries and stuff. I had 2 different surgeries on it, and it was like 2 weeks before camp, I had my second surgery, and they had this big thing on, big thing I had to wear when I played, and I was like, I'm probably not going to make it, whatever. And I just went there and played. I did fine, had like a couple points, but nothing crazy. And I ended up making it, and then went there in the fall, and I was in Topeka, Kansas. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into at all. My mom wasn't too happy when she first dropped me off with where I was living, but kind of just toughed it out, just took it day by day, like just enjoyed my time. Like it wasn't really like chasing anything, just kind of just like going with like enjoying where I was at the time. So that was a great thing for me, playing my first year junior in Topeka and then all. And then after that, I got drafted to the USHL to Dubuque, which I'm very grateful for because eventually it's where I committed to Ohio State and stuff. And I had great billets 2 years. So thankful for them. They still come and watch me play every season they can. And I'm really close with them. My mom and them talk all the time. So I'm really grateful for that place. I played with a lot of great players, guys in the NHL, a lot of guys that are in the NHL that I didn't play with, played against. But I think the USHL was a huge jump for me. The biggest jump, I'd say, in my game. I wouldn't say it was like the hardest stint, but when I first got in the USHL, I had a little bit of a tough kind of time. 10 games, no points. I was like, maybe I'll just go back to the NA. Toughed it out, had a decent year. Came back my last year, age out year. I was already committed to Ohio State, committed my first year in the USHL, came back, had a great year, and then kind of just went from there. Like it was probably the best hockey I've played in my whole life up to that point, and it was just like a really exciting time. And then obviously getting to go to an NHL camp at the end of that year before my freshman year at school was a huge thing, huge experience for me as well. I didn't really know what I was getting into there either, but that was a great time. And then obviously 4 years at OSU were 4 of the best years of my life. A lot of great memories, met so many great people. Like we said earlier, Columbus is an amazing city. One of the best in the Midwest. No one talks about it, but I'll say it's till I'm dead. So I had a great time there. Met so many great people that I'll be friends with forever. So I love that place. And then obviously I've played pro now for 2 years in a few different spots, and it's been a great experience. Obviously it's a job now, so it's a little different. The guys are in the door and out the door a lot, but it's part of the pressure, so it's good. And I think it's just obviously I don't really know where I'm going next year yet. I haven't really put too much thought in it. Kind of take some time off after I had a long year starting in Europe last year and finishing in the States here this year. So kind of just taking it a little easy right now, hanging out on the floor with my girlfriend and just taking my mind off things for a while. But I'll be back to it here soon down in Trenton. I already missed Trenton and the boys skating, so I'm itching to get back.
Mike, I got to get his back. We were talking about it before we started. Columbus is an outstanding town. If you haven't been down there, look, it's extra special on a college football Saturday. I'm not going to lie to you, but a lot of things to like about Columbus. Nicklas, how about you? You left Trenton. You have an interesting path as well. Tell everybody about your path after leaving high school hockey and, of course, the Trenton Trojans.
Yeah, I kind of have a unique path. So after I was a part of the 2020 team that got canceled in the semifinals, so kind of ruined my relationship for hockey a little bit, kind of was mad at the world a little bit and just wanted to go to college and just forget about hockey. And then I went down to Toledo to watch a couple buddies play for Toledo Cherokee, and it was a packed house. And I was like, I kind of missed that, that compete, that drive that hockey kind of fulfills for you. So I kind of want to come back into hockey, but I didn't know where to get back in shape and stuff. So I actually ran into Donte at the rink, and he actually invited me to come out to the track to work out with him and Trela the next day. So that kind of jump-started my comeback. So I got back into shape, and then I was able to make Toledo out of main camp and work my way up in Toledo. And then my second year, I was able to be the captain of Toledo and was able to pick Fitchburg as a great spot for me, a little small town near Boston. So, and I love it there. So that's kind of my path. And, yeah, it was kind of unique after taking a full year off, but I'm grateful for it.
You got to love it. I mean, this is what we keep saying high school hockey is about, stories. And then as you move on through this pathway, adversity. And it seems like Quinn, Nicklas, you guys faced that adversity. You looked it in the face and you powered right through it. So kudos to you. And I hope there's some young kids listening here. But I heard something when Donte was speaking a little bit ago. And he said he loved getting to school the next day after games and talking with the boys about it. So you got to let us in. What was your biggest high school memory, the best story you love sharing with the boys when you get together?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many. I don't know. You can kind of go on for hours about that. But, I mean, I would say probably after we upset Stevenson my senior year when we made a run. We were supposed to be in a rebuilding year that year. They had a couple studs on their side, and we were kind of nobodies is what, some people like to say. But we were not ranked. They were ranked number 1. We were in Yost Arena, and we went in there and upset Stevenson to make our run. And that was kind of the next day. You kind of walk in, and, I remember wood shop, I don't know, the boys are loving it. Mr. Lindsay's loving it. It was a good time. I don't know. It's just, you could go on for hours.
Doesn't that sum up Trenton hockey?
Awesome.
Everyone said we were a bunch of nobodies. Yeah. We weren't going to make it. We were going to have a rebuilding year. And then all of a sudden, there's Trenton. At USA Arena. We talk about it all the time. Trenton's going to be Trenton, and you're going to see him at USA at some point, right?
No doubt. Donte, how about you as we continue on with you, your path after your illustrious career? Your playing days weren't over. Tell us about your path out of Trenton.
Yeah, so after high school, I was a super undersized kid. I graduated high school at 5'4", so that summer I gained about 4 inches, which obviously helped, but Trenton helped a lot with skills and different development tools. And then once I kind of got my height, I got an opportunity with Brian Burke at Victory Honda U18. So I went there the year after I graduated, play U18. And then again, after that, I had nothing on the table for me for junior hockey. I just went to camps. I was ringing coaches' phones left and right just to try to give me a chance. I went out to New Hampshire I went to a rookie camp actually in New Hampshire, and then Rochester Monarchs saw me off after that and offered me a tender. So I went to Rochester Monarchs and then CDC towards the end of the year. Coach Kneiding, I gave him a ring, and he helped me get down to Odessa. So I went down to Odessa for the remainder of that year, which was COVID. So I played a couple games down there, and then we got shut down because of COVID. And then I committed to the University of New England, ended up not going the first year because of COVID. Went back to juniors, went to the NCDC, Connecticut Junior Rangers, played a full season there, then went into University of New England. Things ended up not working out there after 2 years. And then I transferred to, oh my God. I'm going on a tangent right now. I transferred to Plymouth after my 2 years there. So actually, I played a year and a half, University of New England, and I transferred. And the second half of my sophomore year, I came home. I just trained. I played beer league with all my buddies, actually from my Trenton high school days. And that kind of revived my hockey journey and love for the game, because I was at a point where I wasn't really in love with the game anymore. And then I got my opportunity and took it, and I've been there this past year, and then I'll be taking a leadership position there this next season, which is I'm super grateful for, and it was a great fit for me, and I'm super thankful to be there, and that's where I'm at right now, heading in my senior year.
Isn't that awesome? And Nick, I know you touched on a couple of your spots, but we would be remiss if we didn't ask you, what happened after you left and how you got to where you currently are at right now as well.
Yeah, so like I said, I finished my high school career at the end of 2016, and we had some guys that left early, forewent their senior year at Trenton and moved to online schools to go play in the North American League, and you can't be mad at that if they're jump-starting their career a year early. And I needed to make a decision for my development, and I ended up at Belt Tire. After that season, went to a couple main camps, ended up getting cut from Lone Star. And instead of playing maybe a tier 3 league or junior B, which is no shame if you do, I wanted to develop my confidence for the most part and really find a scoring touch at Victory Honda. So the year before Donte went to Victory Honda, I played there with Brian Burke. And funny enough, not many people know this, I signed a letter of intent with a team in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, the Grand Prairie Storm, and it was going to work out. They were a great coaching staff, great front office. They made sure I had every need fulfilled and every want they promised. However, I went to a pre-draft camp for the Amarillo Bulls and played pretty well, played to my game. And before Rocky Russo went to the airport, he called me and offered me a tender. And there was already 8 Michigan guys on the team. So it was a pretty much no-brainer for me. It's like playing junior hockey in Michigan if Michigan had a team. And then so my first year, played pretty well. We were a really good team. I had to develop a role on that team. We had some prolific scorers, so I wasn't going to be the one that year. And we made it to the Robertson Cup semifinals, and I was very happy with my fit. And I told Rocky that I wasn't going to try the USHL. I'm going to lean on him to get the college commitment, and I'm just going to work for that summer and that whole next year. And I ended up receiving an offer to go play at St. Lawrence. And unlike Quinn, Canton, New York is a very small town like Trenton, and I fell in love with it on my visit. It's a small campus, just like Trenton High School. It was I didn't need to assimilate to that culture. I already knew what I was getting myself into. That rink has so much history, kind of like the Kennedy Rec Center. Yeah. It was almost if you took Trenton and the hockey history and put it into upstate New York. And my 4 years there were incredible. We ended up winning the conference championship my freshman year. This past year, made it all the way to the finals, lost to Cornell, who actually had another Trenton native on the team, Ryan McKinchuk, who to play your last game in the ECAC against one of your best friends growing up, there's a lot of sentimental value to that. And I recently committed to play a 5th year, a grad year at Long Island University. So the dream is still going, my career is still going, and I'm very excited for this opportunity up ahead.
Great stuff. No, guys, listen, I can't thank you enough for this. And, the advice that you're giving to young players coming up. I mean, the one thing we all have in common is a love for the game of hockey, certainly in the great state of Michigan at the high school level, and certainly a love of Trenton. And you guys represented. I wanted to read a couple comments before you went. Chris said, looks like Trenton produces some respectable young men. And boy, I think that's going to put a big smile on the coaches' faces waiting for you. And of course, not to be undone, John Kidd is on his anniversary. And of course, he has to chime in as well and tell everybody, hello, Trenton hockey from Seattle. Of course, Jay Kidd was going to do that.
We knew that was coming.
No doubt. Fellas, can't thank you enough. Seriously, continued success to each and every one of you. Thanks not only for the great memories, but certainly the way you conduct yourself and doing what we want so many people to do, to look at the proven path that is high school hockey here in the great state of Michigan. Fellas, thank you each and every one of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, how cool is that?
That is
Mike?
awesome.
Isn't that-
That
we're
is
going to bring
awesome.
the coaches in a second, but how cool is that you have 4 guys talking about different paths, but that's why we're doing this, is to show you, look, this is a proven path. Whether it be Mike's kid, whether it be the 4 gentlemen, and I mean that. You saw the way they conducted themselves. Unbelievable. There's a path there to continue your career.
There is a path there. Everybody's path is different. It starts different. They end up in different places, but the similarities are almost eerie, aren't there?
Yeah.
There's always adversity. They give great advice on what to do and how to keep your head up, because it's just not a simple transition, right? There's the stories of high school hockey, and they all start to blend in. But I just feel like talking to these guys at Trenton, and we could get the coaches to talk about this in a second. We could have had 1,000 people up there. I mean, do
easily.
they just bring these guys in? What is going on? What's in the water in Trenton that produces every year? There's a kid we're talking about. And next summer, there's going to be 4 more kids from Trenton sitting up there, and I can't wait for that.
Well, let's ask the guys, huh? I mean,
let's get 'em
who
out
better
here.
to talk to? Of course, the head coach at Trenton is Chad Clements, and the assistant coach, who I have to give him credit, did a great job of herding the cats, so to speak. Keith Kneiding kindly joining us. Coach, we're going to start with you. Coach Clements, we're going to start with you. What the people at home can't see is those 4 gentlemen, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word, we're chatting. It was interesting to look down at the screen and see the big smile on your face and see the big smile on Coach Kneiding's face. Like a couple of proud papas there. How great is it to watch these young men not only succeed in the great game of hockey, but the way they conduct themselves, Coach?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm stealing Coach Kneiding while the interviews were going on. He just texted me, fantastic, exclamation point, exclamation point. It is. It's, we kind of focus on 3 things in Trenton, and obviously we want to develop them as hockey players, but we care about their education as well. And then third, we care about their character, and we want them to be productive members of their communities. And you saw by all 4 of them speaking and talking about their journeys and giving advice to some of the young hockey players out there. They all fulfilled each of those pillars, and couldn't be more proud. Just excellent young men. And those are just the 4 that you brought here. There's so many more that are continuing to play hockey, but also are just productive members of society now, and have families and are contributing. So just very proud of all of them.
All right, this is a question for both of you, and we'll start with Chad, and then Keith, we'll get to you. You guys both answer this question. So as a kid, I remember I had to get to Eddie Egger because the big bad Trenton team was coming in to play Bentley. And there was an aura about that team coming in, and everyone talked like a myth. I remember riding the bus out to Trenton and the feeling that was in my body, what was going through my brain. I remember as a coach watching my players go through what I went through. You guys played in that program. What did it mean to you that first time you stepped up on that bench as one of the coaches, or now as the head coach, Chad, of this illustrious program?
Yeah, it was a little surreal. When I graduated from Trenton, and the wonderful experience, the moments, the memories, the lifetime friends that I took from there. I didn't think I was ever coming back. Went to Michigan State and got into teaching, and lo and behold, the first interview I have is with Trenton, and somehow it works out. And so I just started whatever Coach Turner needed me to do. I approached him and said, is there anything I can help with? And I don't care if it was picking up pucks and filling water bottles. I just knew how special the program was in developing me. Like I said, not only making sure that I had good grades, making sure my hockey skills improved, but making me, the person that I was becoming. So I was just so proud to be a part of it. And I think I was assistant for 12 years. And then when Coach Turner kind of pulled me aside and said, he was stepping down, it was a great opportunity for me to take a leadership role and try and continue the traditions that have gone on, as you heard Quinn, since the late 60s and the 70s, to make sure it continues to be a special place to play. That's always our goal, is to make it unique, to make it so that our kids do feel like superstars, and that their experience is going to be different than playing anywhere else at that age. So just an incredible honor. And I just can't thank the people that helped me, whether it was the coaching staff or the players. I joke sometimes, but it is serious. My assistants, Keith and Greg O'Bricky, like, I was the little kid. Well, not little, but I was a middle school kid when they were playing on the team. And that's who I looked up to. I wanted to be them. Yeah. So they get a big kick out of it, but it's true. Everyone had those players before them that were living that dream. And that's what I wanted. And so to be a leader of this, along with all the assistants, it's unbelievable. It's a great gig to go with my teaching career. And I've just been very fortunate.
Keith, love to hear your 2 cents on this.
What Chad said. No, I'll no, I could go on. If anyone knows me, I'll talk hockey. I'll talk Trenton hockey. I'll talk about our players all day long. So I think what that is I grew up loving the sport. I love the game. I love everything that it's helped me become, and the life lessons it's taught me. And I value the opportunity to help pass that along to the players that are coming up and coming through our program. And then, as coaches, of course we want to win. Of course we want to compete. Of course we want to be in the big game at the end of the year. But with that, we're really measured 20 years from now. How do these guys develop? Who are they as human beings? Are they great productive members of society? Are they great husbands? Do they become great leaders in the field of choice that they've chosen? Things like that. So for me, I love the game. I love this program. I was a kid, and I was a AAA kid growing up. And at the time, I always say there's 150 kids that tried out when I tried out, and blah, 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 all that back in the day. But I was a AAA kid who decided to play elsewhere my sophomore year, and play AAA, and then watched Trenton win a state championship my sophomore year of high school from the stands with my buddies. And I was burnt out from hockey after my sophomore year. So that's always my passion with kids that are playing AAA, might be a little bit burnt out, whatever it may be. My message is come back and love the game again, because it's a great game. It's a lifelong game. You're going to be playing beer league down the road. Everyone's going to end up in beer league. Some just take a little longer time to get there because of the path they take, right? But with that being said, again, I'm passionate about the game. I'm passionate about the program. And most importantly, I'm passionate about these players, these young men, and who they can become. And that's why we push them at the end of the day. So again, Chad called me up, 8 years ago, and said, "Hey, would you consider helping out?" And I'm in a fortunate spot with my job to where I'm able to help out. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I had to talk to my sons, because I have 3 sons and a bonus child that have gone through the program now. And so they were like, "Yeah, go for it, all in." And so it's been a heck of a ride. It's been a lot of fun. And again, I'll shut my mouth now because I can talk.
Chad, you heard the guys talk about it. You heard them talk about the players that came before them, and both of you guys have touched on this. I think so much of Trenton hockey has to come back to Coach Turner. I mean, just a class act. It was so great to see him in Plymouth back in March and catch up with him. And, you know, Mike, I think I told you this. Here's the unassuming guy he is. We're standing on the ice. They win the championship in 2014. He walks up to me, just kind of like, nonchalantly goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm retiring." I'm like, okay, what? And you know, that's kind of Coach Turner. And I was like, you tell everybody the way you want to. You certainly have earned that right. But Chad, talk about the impact that Coach Turner has had, not only on you, but the community as whole. I think, and he's going to get mad at me for saying this, but when you say Trenton hockey, you can't help but think of Coach Turner.
Yeah, we talk about the rich traditions of Trenton High School hockey, and it all stems from him. He wasn't the first coach, but when he took over, he really had a competitive spirit about him and doing things the right way, as we call them in the hockey world. And that's, like I said, developing hockey, developing students and developing young men. And so, you know, just indebted, you know, everyone that is part of the program indebted to him and for starting the traditions of winning, of excellence. You know, wins the first state title and then wins a lot more. Some people don't know this, but you know, he was a teacher as well, and he was laid off, and you know, because of that, he wasn't around anymore, and we had to get a new coach, and there was a couple in there when he was gone, but he went to the University of Michigan and really focused or learned about the defensive part of the game, and then brought that to Trenton when he came back. And I was fortunate as a sophomore to play for him his first year he got back, and what an incredible experience. Up until that point, I don't know if I really knew what defensive systems were as a forward. I just knew I needed to put the puck in the net or help someone else put the puck in the net. So, like I said, he's just been the pillar of Trenton High School hockey. And like I said, we just try and uphold those traditions as well as create some new ones, but take the foundations of what he has built and make him proud as well. Again, as a former player of his, and then as a colleague, as a teacher, and as a coach, I just really look up to him as a person. All right, not just a coach, not just a teacher, but as a person. And we still talk probably once a month, once every 2 months, and just talk about hockey. He still loves it, but again, he's that guy, like you said. When he retired, I don't think he made a big deal of it. At our banquet, that's when he announced it to us. Only a few of us, and Sean, you were one of the select few that knew. But it was coming. It was coming for a few years, and what a way to go out. We had a very special team in 2014. We had some great hockey players and a team that the chemistry was right as well. We had a lot of role players that bought into their roles and just did a tremendous job to, I guess, help him retire on a positive note and a winning note.
All right, Keith, I'm going to jump over to you here, and then Chad, you can also answer this question. Keith, having kids that went through the program and have moved on, it was a pleasure watching them. But this is something I've asked every coach we've had on the show. If you could change or add one thing to Michigan high school hockey that would get more eyes, more exposure on our players, or help more players move on to the next level, what would it be?
That's a great question. Now you got to have me think about this. I'm always a proponent if we could get 5 more games added. Yeah. And I know that's easier said than done. I can completely appreciate that. With that being said, as we always talk about game counts, right? And we understand that, but the one thing you cannot replicate, and that's one of the comparables, is I think the coaches in Michigan high school hockey are in it for everybody. And when I say that is if you go, and I'm not going to bash a AAA program or anything like that, but if a player's playing for CompuWare, CompuWare is worried about the CompuWare kids. Or if they're playing for Beltire, Beltire is worried about the Beltire kids. Or they're trying to recruit the CompuWare kids. If you heard Quinn Preston say it, after his last game of his high school career, one of our big rivals is Livonia Stevenson, which is a great rivalry. That's who helped him get to the next level, right? And so with that, that's what I mean. We are all passionate, and we're in it for all these kids. So to see Cooper Black from Alpena doing what he's doing is phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. And you got a guy that came down to the showcase few years ago that was playing for one of the Canadian teams that came down to the showcase, who was playing for Florida in the Stanley Cup Finals last night. And I got a text from one of the local scouts telling me that last night. So things like that are cool, and it elevates the game a little bit, right? So we root for each and every one of these kids and to see them all be successful. And that's the one thing I can say I'm truly passionate about is we're in it together. And we want to see this game grow itself. And we want to see every player get to experience high school hockey. Because not only is it fun, but when you're playing competitive teams, you talk about KLAA or MIHL or wherever, because the brand continues to get better and better every year. They're playing competitive games. They're playing games that matter. They're playing in front of their friends. And, oh, yeah, they get to go to school and hang out with their buddies and go to the school dance and do things like that too. So, which to me means they're maybe a little bit more well-rounded person at the end of the day too. So, again, I'll shut my mouth.
I told you he asks all the good questions, so now Chad's on the spot. It's just like I'm working with Kid. They ask the smart questions. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, well, I think Keith hit it on the head for his first point. Obviously, the Michigan High School Coaches Association continues to try and grow the game, and Mike and Sean, with your help, and you mentioned Jonathan Kidd and state champs. Like the more exposure the sport of high school hockey gets, I think the bigger the game gets, and the more attention people start to, I guess, take from it. But no, the game count is something that I think would help. There have been, at least coaches trying to get hockey into a two-sport, like a fall and winter sport, which I don't think the MHSAA would ever let happen. But more games would obviously help, especially for exposure for our athletes. And I guess that's one of the big knocks on high school hockey. So we try to have showcases. The MIHL KLAA is a showcase that we've been a part of. The MIHL showcase down in Trenton is another one. And then, like a lot of teams now, you see them going up to the UP playing, going out to the west side of the state playing, going up to the Traverse City area playing. You're trying to get these kids more exposure. And I think if the game count is increased, you have more opportunities to do things like that. You see some of the schools like Heartland and Catholic Central and Orchard Lake St. Mary have really started to travel now, and go to the surrounding states and take their teams there. So that's something, if you have more games, you have the opportunity to do. You still keep those in-state rivals. You still keep those league rivals, but it allows your kids more exposure, maybe more on a Midwestern level, I guess. So that would be something. As Keith said, it's a tough decision for high school sports. The athletic directors, the superintendents are worried about budgets, right? Like these are teams that do not have unlimited funds. They're funded by the taxpayers' dollars, state of Michigan. So I understand their apprehension, to add more games, but it would certainly help. But again, I think you would have to extend the season if you start talking 5-10 more games, because then the model right now is great in terms of pretty much 2 practices per 1 game. That's the development of these student athletes, and that's what we're trying to do. A lot of what we've tried to do in the Coaches Association is model it after the Minnesota model, and if we can go a step further, like that would be the ultimate, is to do what Minnesota hockey does, and that is, all your other leagues stop during the high school season. All the players come back and play for their respective high schools. And then after the high school season, they go back to and rejoin the teams, the travel teams, the AAA teams. I don't know if that would ever happen in Michigan. There's a lot of AAA teams. There's a lot of travel teams, but that would certainly help as well. So those are a couple things. The game's great right now. But like he said, the coaches are always looking to make it better, to grow the game. And just fortunate again to work with so many coaches that dedicate themselves and care, not just about the game of hockey, but each of their student athletes. And as he said, Dave Mitchell, of all people, our rival coach, reaches out and helps. And he's not the only one. Again, all of us are trying to move on as many high school hockey players as possible to the next level.
Yeah. You mentioned something, and you knew I wasn't going to let you guys get away with this, and I mean that in 100% respect. One of the things that I've clamored for in the last 10 years is we need more showcases. We need more tournaments. More. Let's do it in Traverse City. Let's do it in Gaylord. The granddaddy of them all is the Trenton Showcase. And I don't know if you guys made a deal with the good Lord above that it pours snow every Thursday because Mike and I are driving from out here in Narnia, and there's always a snowstorm coming down to you. But Coach Kneiding, let's start with you this time. The Trenton Showcase, how do you even explain it? It is the premier event in high school hockey during the course of the season, and your hospitality and the way you guys plan it is second to none. Tell everybody about the showcase in case they may not be aware of it.
Well, it is. It's special. It's phenomenal. It's a great event for our community. We have a ton of people behind the scenes do a lot of work from a volunteer perspective that step up, be it from Tim Beaker at the rink to our Parks and Recreation Commission to, I don't know, Chad will probably pick me up because I'm going to forget a bunch of names, but Mark Ravis, who helps get the scorekeepers in line for the day, or we have the officials that get lined up to everything that may happen. It is an incredible event just to come watch and witness and take in, where you get to see every team play 2 games throughout that weekend, Thursday through Saturday. You get to see Chad and me running around the rink, I think, from before it starts till after it ends every day. And again, and Sean, you're able to get your Fig Newtons while you're there as well because of the hospitality team. But with that being said, the reason that event initially occurred was to get scouts in the door, and it was to get people seen. We mentioned Cooper Black earlier. Cooper Black getting seen at that showcase was huge because it took him like, oh, who is this kid? Oh, wow, this kid can actually play. And oh, wow, this kid can do some things. So it was awesome for that, for something like that to occur. So the whole goal is to get scouts in the door, to get them to watch a great brand of hockey, to have them watch high level play occur, and to see what can happen next for some of these kids and to see what happens after that. But again, it doesn't happen without the commitment from the entire community. It is something Nick Trela, I think, said 6.4 square miles. I've always said 7 square miles, but it takes a lot of people from within that 7 square miles who've been dedicated for a lot of years to do a lot of things to help pull it off. So it's a really, really special and cool event. We're grateful we're able to have it year in and year out.
Chad, you're always running around with a smile. Granted, it's a hurried smile when I see you that weekend, because not only are you planning some stuff, but you guys are a part of it. But certainly your thoughts on the showcase and what a special, special weekend that is.
Yeah, since 1999, I wasn't around. I was at Michigan State during that time, but the creators of it, they get all the kudos. Bringing some of the best high school teams in the state together to compete against each other and to make it easy for scouts, right? You attend that weekend and you get to see 42 teams. This year, it looks like we're going to go to expand it to 50 teams. So you'll see, teams from all over the state of Michigan, and we're also bringing in, a few out-of-state teams like we do every year. But it's good hockey. It's good competitive hockey. It's great atmosphere. After a team plays, they stick around, and there's you guys highlight them. There's always those special games that weekend that it's packed, and you have all these participants coming back and watching them. So not only are you playing a high level hockey game, you're also getting to witness what other guys can do and what other teams can do around the state. It's our goal not only to get the best teams there, but also the best players. I mean, and that's what we want to do. We want to showcase the best players to again help move them on. And as Keith said, it takes a village. The city of Trenton steps up. The other teams in the MIHL, they all step up. So it's a huge puzzle, and all the pieces just somehow fit together. There's ups and downs throughout the weekend, as always, but we've been fortunate that the weather has held up, and we battle through compressors going down and teams, buses breaking down. But it's just a great event, and as you said, Sean, like I would love to see something of this size somewhere else in the state as well. Again, I think all it does is grow the game and get more exposure. to the athletes and the teams. And so the more showcases, the better. And this is something that hopefully in the future, like I said, if they add a few more games, you'll be able to see Alpena having a showcase. You'll be able to see the Grand Rapids teams having a team. You'll see Traverse City. And again, some of them already do the showcases. I know Chelsea does one. The D3 help me out. Big Rapids, I believe, does one. So they're starting to pop up. But if you get more games, all of a sudden the size of those can really blow up, and we can have several of these that teams can participate in.
You got the last word,
I
pal.
was going to say, what a great event. It's always great to be out there. I can't wait to get out there this year. It'll be the first year we'll be calling games, and I can actually not be a dad. I can just call games there, right? So I can't wait. And hopefully we can add a few games on and maybe in the beginning of the year do one. But the repeated word that I've heard as we've interviewed these 6 guys from Trenton is community, community, community. And I've got kind of a funny question about the community, but I've got to know where it comes from. So these are these memories I have of Trenton, my last high school hockey game. And I got to add in, I scored against Trenton. But about 5 minutes later, they were so under my skin, I got thrown out of the game.
Now that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
And I believe Chad was on the bench for this game. We bring Grosse Pointe in for a regional game, the regional finals. I believe we go up 3-0 in the first period. We come out. There's a save on a breakaway early in the second period. That place erupts. The people in the suite are basically in our bench. They're giving it to us. You guys go down and score. I looked over at Locke, and we knew the game was over at that point. Every year that me and Sean don't pick you guys to win the state championship, parents are in our back pockets. They're all over us.
Parents.
This is this sandpaper, this grit, this determination that this community has that is something different than anywhere I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What do you attest to? Where does that come from? That grit, that Trenton grit we talk about. Coach?
Chad, you want to go first?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. I guess it's just in terms of the community and how people raise their kids. I mean, this is it's always been a blue collar town. The steel mill's not there anymore, but it was based on steel workers, right? Like the steel mill was located on the river, and many people settled in Trenton, working at the steel mill. Working for the big 3 auto companies, and it was just that grit that they raised their children with, and you've seen it in not only hockey but many of our sports and our sports teams, and just that that hardworking attitude, that never die attitude, and so just very fortunate that that was the beginnings, because the steel mill's not around anymore, and the auto industry isn't what it was. The manufacturing industry isn't what it was, and so it's still around though. It's still that blue collar mentality, which is passed from generation to generation. That makes our student athletes believe that there's always a chance. Mike, I remember that game. Our starting goalie called us 45 minutes before the game and said he was sick and he wasn't going to make it. So I don't know if you remember, we had a little sophomore in there that turned out to be one heck of a goalie. But I remember going down 3-0 and thinking, oh boy, and being able to come back. We also had, a pretty talented individual, Jake Shearing, on that team that led that comeback. And probably my most memorable game, or top 3 most memorable games, in my playing and coaching experiences. So that was great. But Mike, you brought up the word grit. The young men that were on here before, that's something that I don't know if people always give them enough credit for. And that's their journey. You heard all their journeys are different. You said your son, is starting this journey. They have to have that grit. You use the word adversity a lot today, and they're all going to battle adversity. You heard Quinn talk about my living situation wasn't good. You heard Nick talk about, I had to accept a role that was different from what I was used to. I'm away from my family. My family's upset that I'm moving so far away. these are the guys that continue to face adversity and win, because there's a lot of great hockey players out there, and some of them just can't accept that adversity, battle through that adversity, and come out on the other side and end their careers early. So, the young man that, we call it the grind. If you're able to get through that grind, you heard Donte talk about how many different teams he played for, how many different areas in the East he lived in. If you're willing to work hard and battle through that grind and that adversity, sky's the limit, right? And so all these guys have dreams, and they're living them right now, all taking different paths, but anyone can do it. There's enough junior teams out there. There's enough routes. There's enough college Division III, Division I teams out there where you can continue to live that dream and fulfill that goal.
Coach Kneiding?
Yeah, getting to the grit part, as Coach talks about, there's a big joke in Trenton that either you stay forever or you leave for good. And a lot of people that say they're leaving for good end up turning back up 10 years down the road, and they got kids. All of a sudden they're playing hockey or whatever it may be. But with that being said, I just think that's part of, I call it downriver dirty at times too. We got a little bit of that mentality, and we're proud to be from Trenton. No matter where your roots end up down the road, you can always circle back home. We got a guy that helps our program every year. He donates to our little booklet we do every year, and he's living in Arizona, Phoenix. Very successful business guy that's done very well for himself. But every year he's wanting to know how the hockey team's doing. What can I do, to help the hockey team and things like that. This kid never made the team. And now he's, an adult, and he still cares, and he's passionate about the program and seeing Trenton succeed. And I think that's what you see with a lot of our families in any sport, or be it the band or be it whatever. All of us want to see our kids do better than we did. Right. And with that, I think we're always humble in this town. There's a lot of bit of humility, humbleness, and we're always hungry. I think those are two key words that if you put it together, and we're very proud to be from the city of Trenton. I got two quick stories about two of those young men. Donte DiPonio is the perfect picture of have suitcase, will travel. I don't care where I got to be, when I got to be there. I remember him calling me from the situation he was in. He's like, Coach, I got to finish out the year somewhere. Can you help me out? And I'm like, I can send you to Odessa. They're not having a great year. I can help connect you. I don't care, Coach. I'll pay for my own plane. I'll get down there. I'll prove myself. I'll do whatever I can. And so he had that type of mindset. I'm in it. I did the cannonball into the pool. I'm all in. Wherever they want me to go, I'm going. And so that was that mindset. We had another young man that's not on here that had the same mindset. Have suitcase, will travel, wherever it may go. You heard about Quinn's struggles early on, and then he started to succeed after that. But Nick Trela is a great one because he talked about Amarillo and getting that tender. I was at that camp, and it was at KV, and I was sitting in the stands before the camp, and Nick Trela come walking up to me. And I said, Nick, what are you trying to get out of this camp? He goes, Coach, I'm getting a tender out of this camp. And I'm like, are you? And we sat in the bleachers. I could still see it to this day where I was sitting at KV with him. He says, I'm getting a tender coming out of this camp. And he went up and lit up the pre-draft camp that he was in. And like he said, he got that call. So it's a mindset thing. So it's kudos to those guys. You talk, Nick Millhorn didn't make our high school team till his senior year. And so you talk about a guy, he didn't make it till his senior year. And it took the weight when we were doing it in the weight room, when he decided to put up big boy weights, and you could see his confidence grow. And then all of a sudden you found out Nick Millhorn can score goals, and he scores dirty goals. And so he was huge for us his senior year. Took a year off. He didn't tell you. He helped coach our prep team for that year he took off, and then rediscovered his love. And I remember the Toledo coach, Nick Sines, calling me, who's this Millhorn kid that showed up to our team? Who is he? And to see him kind of take that path his first year, and then his second year become a big leader and score a bunch of goals for him and do great things, and now playing Division III college hockey is awesome. And we had a couple other guys that weren't able to join tonight that could tell you a similar story and kind of their path and how they dealt with COVID and the adversity of things and things like that. So again, we're passionate about this community. We're passionate about this program. We want to see these kids do great things in life. At the end of the day, that's our goal. And so I push every kid that comes into our program, or that comes through our halls in our school, play at least 1 year. And if you play 1 year, we had a kid that he didn't come play for us till his junior, and when he was graduating, at his speech said, I wish I would have came a year sooner.
Mm,
Yep,
It's
we
so
hear
much
that a
fun.
lot.
hear it all the time.
And
Yep.
that's what you're trying to convince. And we're like every other school. We're still fighting for some of those players year in and year out. And our goal is to see all these kids do the best. If they play for us or if they don't, we're still going to push for them as they leave and move on to bigger and brighter things. And hopefully their futures are bright. And again, they do great things. So
Nick Trela jumps in the chat. I mean, boy, if this isn't what you guys are talking about, and it says, don't forget about Donte. He already ran one marathon, and he placed first in an ultra marathon this spring, 40.5 miles. Still getting his teammates back. That is awesome. I'm going to give our buddy, Coach Hunter, the final word before we bid these guys adieu. He said, whenever you play Trenton, you know you're in for a tough game.
100%.
And truer words have never been spoken. I think that's a testament to certainly what has been going on there for a long time. I say this all the time, but I'll say it to both of you right now. Every time I reach out to you guys, it's always a whatever you need. You guys are first class. Really appreciate everything you do, not just for your community, but for the game as a whole. Coach Clements, Coach Kneiding, thank you so much. And if you ever need anything, you know I'll do my best to help you out as well. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for growing the game, guys. We appreciate the support.
thank you very much.
Appreciate the both of you as well. Two great guys there.
Wow.
They really are. They're two
Wow.
great guys that always are giving you their time. And they're great representatives. I'm going to say it again, not just of the special community of Trenton, but of high school hockey.
Well, that's also, I think, part of what this show is going to represent when we get to the end of it, if it ever ends, is that everyone we have had on has talked about that. They have their programs that they talk about, but they want to talk about the entirety of the game, and you've got the Dave Mitchells, the Chad Clements, the Coach Cal, all these guys, Joe Ford, everyone that we've had on is talking about other players, and they want to move their guys on. They have a job. But they also think their job and know their job is part of Michigan high school hockey is moving everybody on. And they've all had a hand in that.
Oh, I think it's outstanding. And that's why we're doing this. This is a proven path. And every week we're going to be talking to different guys that have proven that this is a path that you should strongly consider. Mike, always a pleasure. Once again, thank to all our guests. Special shout out to our buddy Blake as well. For everybody, my name is Sean Belegian. Until next week, we'll see you.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.